you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, it's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there are latest things that makes it visual. Welcome to 16 years and nearly 3,000 episodes of the oldest performing daily podcast. Still putting out all sorts of great content and wonderful authors and people that we have on the show. Be sure to refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today, amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about some of his insights in Hollywood and how he's trying to change Hollywood for the better. At least that's my understanding. He'll correct me if I'm wrong on the other end. Scott Hadley Morgan is an award-winning writer, producer, director, a 30-year veteran of Hollywood, mentored by Freddy Fields and Barry London. And let's see here, to run a new mini-major studio. He sold screenplays to or wrote for Silver Pictures, HBO, Paramount, TriStar, Universal, Don Simpson, John Badham, Jean-Claude Van Damme. We know that guy. He won Best Picture plus Best Director for playing Solitaire in the New York, LA, and Las Vegas Video and Film Festival, which led to being hired to write, produce, direct test pilots for Club Fiji, Cupid's Bow, Sam and Ella's, and praised Boxing God. He was the very first director to see the high-def camera on loan from NASA, and due to his science and skills, Panavision put him through the cinematographer crash course to be the first to use the new high-def camera in the film The Violent Kind and pilot Sam's and Ellis. Always years ahead in Hollywood when it comes to next generation technology. I've got a camera here. Winner top 10 multiple times, a screenwriting contest, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to be talking to him, and we're going to be talking about his books that are coming out. The first one is called One Fish Says to Another, Volume 1 by Scott Hadley Morgan. Welcome to the show, Scott. How are you?
Welcome. I'm doing great. That was such a great intro. I think I'm all done. I'm just high on praise. Thank you very much.
That's what we do. As people ask me, can you follow me around and introduce me every time I enter a room?
I know. That'd be great.
Sure.
Little snare drum goes bump, bump.
Yeah, you can have the family. Here, children and wives. Wife, I'm in Utah right now. And here now, children and wives, here enters Dad.
There we go.
The great Superman of the family.
Dad's been busy writing quite a bit. If you see over to my right, a shelf that has 6 books in it, all meant to function together. A little bit like The Matter with Things by McGilchrist. It's really the foundation for a future for Hollywood that people can't quite imagine. The first book that I wrote, there are actually 3 coming out. One Fish Says to Another Fish, Volume 1, 2. And the third book is on film, which is how the first 2 books relate to the future of filmmaking. Now, One Fish Says to Another Fish is a Chinese parable. One fish says to another fish, the water's cold. The second fish says, what's water? It just shows you that there are people that are aware of the environment they're in, or they're not. Now, it was the first deep fusing of Eastern and Western philosophy in the goal of creating an accelerating philosophy to prepare us for the AI age. I saw this coming in 2016 when I began writing. A philosophy needs to accelerate. That means both pivot and race ahead. And if you watched Oppenheimer, or much about that movie, he needed to study Sanskrit in order to get through some barriers that were not apparent to him in understanding Einstein's work. And then there are all sorts of cultural things that involve Eastern and Western, and we're finding out a greater appreciation, for instance, for balance. And Taoism is deep in balance. The chapters in there actually begin with something called deconstructing the human agreements. We have agreements on all sorts of limitations we put on our lives. And it's out of convenience. It's, as in the movie Lucy, to make the unfathomable fathomable.
Oh.
And we have these agreements, such as what is now, what is IQ, what was the most important invention of civilization, because I want to give people something called plasticity of the mind, which makes it flexible and open enough so it can pivot. But your philosophy is really, what are your virtues? What has meaning to you? Because they determine your changes, your choices. So the first thing I had to write was, how do I orient the audience to understand this is to preserve the gifts that are given to human beings as we go toward AI and quantum. So when you have that philosophy and you relate to it as your internal drive for what gives you meaning, such as, I want to be a good parent. I want to exist in a meritocracy where I'm measuring myself. I don't want to give up on life. All of these things that we have as our principles or our virtues. We have that set in a way to access it through movies. The third book is through the movies. Now, the other two books are the deep science that was required, the knowledge in physics and mathematics. You're talking about the Fermi paradox, the Nash equilibrium, and everything else, in order to understand that if there are multiple universes, you need to understand the physics and the principles that guide it for it to be stable. Scientists, physicists, and financial people are going to love that. And the last book is actually, it's called The State of Encryption Address. And it's a global address that it covers the financial and political environments that actually, if you have the best intentions, would prevent you from going forward. So with that foundation, I create my new universe of feature films, network television, and streaming content.
Oh, wow. You've set up, now this is on your website, you've started setting up examples of some of the work that can be done with this. Is that how I understand the website?
Yes, there are 17 videos in this website and several PowerPoint presentations, then some blogs on this links. But this journey that I will be leading the world on and the entertainment community on is so fascinating, so wonderful, and I put it into easy to relate to videos. For instance, one is just on Flashdance and the power of story. How that ultimately led to 5 women being the 5 out of 7 shot callers in Hollywood. And so I simplified all of this in the website so that people can see, for instance, they can see the night sky. They can understand the navigation between galaxies and understand their position in it.
Oh, wow. That's got to be pretty cool. And
it's really fun to watch these things.
When do you anticipate the first book is going to be out and released?
It's going to be a couple of months. Then I'm going to do pretty well with the books because I've been offered a lot of money by VCs to buy me out and bury what's in them.
Oh, really?
So that's a whole story in itself. Yeah.
Really? And do you feel that what would it bury? AI itself, or is it competing with AI, or what would it bury?
They would bury the truth about first the security of apps, killer apps, the way we orient toward blockchain, Bitcoin, the future of money. Ultimately, the physics limitations and the creative limitations of AI. As a matter of fact, funny story, there was a fundraiser in New York. The qualifier was you had to be able to write a $25 million check if you're sitting in the audience. And Silicon Valley was making their pitch in 2019. It was January. They said, so can we count on all you guys to write a check? And my friend Sam, I'd spent Christmas with, he says, no, because you don't know what you're talking about. Because are you kidding? We're the experts in the world. He goes, no, the expert in the world stayed with me over Christmas. And they had a little debate. And he says, I tell you what, if you can get Scott Morgan to call me and say, you know what you're talking about, we'll all invest $25 million. And it was 8 people. So this guy flew out to Venice, had lunch with me in Venice, right near Earth Cafe, which you would know, probably. And he shows up late. He tells me how everybody thinks they've got something going, but they're all idiots. And if I'm lucky, I'll get a $100,000 salary. Wow. And he says, you got 15 minutes left. Otherwise, I got to charge you $100,000 just for my time. So in 11 minutes, at the end of it, when I showed him what I got, he says, you just made me feel as smart as that bug. I'm authorized to give you the same amount of money we would have gotten from New York, $200 million, but we're going to bury this. I said, I can't do it because you already told me that dumb money is the target here in what you're doing. And you're basically going to woo the masses under the guise of helping the masses. And that's the same old story. So I said, no, this is a long haul that I'm being patient for, because I absolutely love filmmaking. I love the art. It's everything to me. I will persevere and sacrifice for 10 years, complete these books, and complete my sling ring that allows me to travel to the different multiverses and bring back that revenue, the fan base, and really what they call spirit and scale, which you find in gaming. You find a little bit with influencers, but spirit and scale move the universe.
Oh, okay. Now, what the sling? What would you call it? The sling?
The sling ring. Yeah.
The sling ring. Tell us about this. What is this details? Okay. What you can disclose, I guess.
As all life's questions can be answered in the movies. And so I make parallels to movies all the time. Doctor Strange, he had a sling ring. He would wave around. It would open up a portal. He'd be able to go into another dimension or another universe. The sling ring, the reason I call it that is I have created a killer app of, it's 49 apps talking to each other to become the next, let's say, online presence for somebody, replacing any idea we have right now of what a profile is or an Instagram lifestyle. If you saw the best way to describe it is to use the movie Avatar. So we're starting from Doctor Strange opens the portal to the other world. Now in Avatar, it was really the soul and the qualia of Jake Sully that saved the planet. It wasn't the skin he jumped into. It wasn't the blue alien. It was what had meaning to Jake Sully that saved that planet. So imagine I have created a soul for people's profiles and gaming avatars that will change everything we understand about social media. It's a lot. It's fun. When you see the 17 videos, you see how it's broken down. But just imagine if you went and you were an avid gamer or you were a popular influencer. You're really showing them only a surface. And if you could have more of your qualia where it gives you meaning in there, it'd just be more rewarding. But the other thing is it's going to get you on television and into movies. And the step up for an influencer or a gamer is to be having those positions. So it's all these things are considered.
Oh, wow. Wow. It seems pretty interesting what you're building. And you think this is the revolution? This is the new thing that can happen to replace maybe Hollywood? Or maybe reinvent Hollywood.
My universe is a daughter universe to Legacy Hollywood, films up to 2015. All right? It's a daughter universe. It's a parallel universe to gaming and influencers. And it's far away from the streaming universe. Streaming can have all the fun it wants. I even have projects for streaming. But they do not observe the use of time the same way, the gravity that pulls people towards them, and how they spend the energy is not the power of story to make people better or to make romances better. It's to get people back with their eyeballs. So by creating this new avatar, which will be presented actually in a TV show that's a cross between Carl Sagan's Cosmos and Jeopardy, it's going to be a fun, interactive thing with rewards so that people will be drawn to it in an easy way, and they'll be able to understand what they're filling out. And you'll, again, be able to see some of that on the website. But I have had people pursuing me for this for a pretty long time. So I have a feeling it's going to be well received.
We've certainly seen some changes in Hollywood over the years. You've been working on this since, I think you said 2016, right?
Yes.
We saw the recent, a few years ago, it's a blur to me now, but there was the strike over AI and how people's images were going to be used in AI. Tyler Perry, I believe, was going to dump a huge amount of money to expand his studios, I think isn't it Georgia. And then he pulled it back because he saw some of the AI stuff that was coming out. And it's pretty incredible. Does AI tie into any of the stuff you're doing at the Eventhorizon studio, or?
According to the Switzerland AI labs, I'm the greatest counterbalance to AI that there is. AI is useful, let's say, in generating the visuals that are the background of a game that you might play. It can definitely create certain backdrops, things that it doesn't do well. You can look a little bit at CGI and remember how much CGI changed everything. At the beginning, it had its faults. I have written some fascinating papers, which can be viewed on my website, about why AI will never be able to write hit screenplays. It won't even be able to come close. There's a lot of reasons for that. But what you see right now in Hollywood can best be explained by another movie, A Beautiful Mind. Then right now there's a new Nash equilibrium in Hollywood. 20 years ago, the Nash equilibrium was, we are going to make films that have meaning, that win awards, that relate to people, give them power story, and find the hero within. That was the Nash equilibrium. And they had to compete on a meritocracy of excellence. The Nash equilibrium now, created by Amazon, is completely different. It is demand through convenience and demand through inconvenience. When you bring in AI, if you know very much about it, it will enter a loop of a constant slow sinking and devolving of human skills and traits and things we relate to. If you understand that the Nash equilibrium, that Amazon now can intimidate every agency and law firm and producer. I know because when I came back into town in January and met with the people that were really big in Hollywood that I worked with, they all lifted up their hand. They said, we won't do anything to lose Amazon's business. If we do this, we can't touch it, Scott.
Oh, really?
And if I told you the names of the producers, agents, and lawyers that were telling me this, they said, we hope you're successful, but we were told by the higher-ups, we'll lose all the money from Amazon. Now, what is Amazon doing? There was a movie a long time ago called Barton Fink, and it was when studios still had actors under contract and writers.
Yeah.
Amazon is actually going against that. Now that they bought a studio, they're a content creator with the studios, they've got the distribution network, and they're starting to put actors and writers under such fear that they're essentially under contract like they were with the early days of MGM. How this is not seen as a RICO violation, I don't know. But before the writers' strike, there was the writers' war, which is when some disgruntled assistants leaked out something like 800 emails showing that the agencies were betraying their talent. That was a writer's war. 8,000, almost every writer in Hollywood fired their agent until it was solved, but then the writer's strike came up. During the strike, most people don't know this, while Amazon was swearing they were not going to use AI to replace actors, they were replacing Jake Gyllenhaal for the last days he couldn't work during the strike when he was doing Roadhouse. So right then, even before they finished, they were using AI to do what they promised AI wouldn't do. Now, I think Jeff Bezos is a great guy. I admire him and stuff. He's smart enough to understand that his universe can actually do really fine alongside my universe. I can feed him some projects. He'll like that. But he's going to see the benefits. First of all, there's two factors, just to make some fun out of this. Amazon and the other streaming companies are being blamed for the burning down of Hollywood. Now that I'm here, that's not going to be a problem. The second thing is I'm older than Bezos and I'm going to marry somebody younger, so he and his wife are finally going to get some privacy. So you got to look at it for fun, and actually Bezos will probably see this is pretty funny too.
Yeah. How can you're looking for what is the ask that you're seeking? Are you seeking investors for this? People, I noticed there's some stuff on your website about name branding and monetizing and stuff like that. Talk to us about what you want people to do. Are the books made for Hollywood people that want to make type films, or is it for consumers, or both?
It's for investors.
Okay.
And then the other is for humanity to keep themselves together over the next couple of years. But Barry London was mentoring me from Paramount because he says, you're the only screenwriter I know that thinks like a CEO. And thinks stock value, everything else. And so what I had to do was create a dynamic. Now, what is a dynamic? It is many systems functioning together with so well that there's a protection around it. Now, the old legacy Hollywood system, they were the agencies, the law firms, the studios, the distributors, and the talent, and then the marketing. So those were the systems all functioning as a dynamic. Now, if you were to enter Hollywood with a system, the dynamic, even though it's morphed into something totally different, would crush you. You really have to have the full dynamic ready to go. And then you've got some protection on that. Now, as far as what I'm looking for this is tapping into the next era of what they call the $1.3 trillion pioneer cloud. McKinsey, the accounting firm, said that the pioneer cloud is for the people that really have the breakthroughs, the disruption models that create the new investment opportunities. So if you understand what that means, the mini majors usually start at $200 million. Then they get acquired for a fortune. You've obviously heard of the $111 billion purchase of Discovery by Skydance. There's a reason for that. They're hoping somebody like me comes along with a breakthrough innovation so that they can build off of those shows a new user experience. And he is also, Skydance is probably the only perfect fit for what I have created because one, his father would know enough about tech and physics to understand how the sling ring works. And they're also the only studio that is financing the films that are done at high production values. Your Tom Cruise movies, Mission Impossible, John Wick, they're involved with all the winners. They're willing to spend the money to keep the longer production schedules. Now, the investors would be actually your titans. There'd be 5 of them. Let's say BlackRock, Citadel, companies like that. Any company that's invested in AI, I'll give you an example, would be interested in this. I have a mini major where there is 1 movie and 3 television series in which AI is the hero that saves humanity, that works for us. Now, imagine if in Iron Man, every time Tony Stark put on his uniform, there would be the logo for Raytheon or JPL, defense contractors, right? It would make that logo a household name among children. Now, in my 4 projects that have AI armaments and robots saving the world, if you're an AI company and you're the one that funds that at, let's say, $500 million, including the games, that is the sort of brand gold. I call it brand gold that you just can't get any other place. There's only going to be one AI company out there in existence that gets to be on all the movie, robots, everything like that. You need to start thinking about what will increase the value of the stock so much that the money they spend on the movies is trivial. It's already been proven long ago with the House of Cards when they announced it at Netflix at $100 million. Everybody said you're crazy, but their stock went up and new memberships went up $224 million within months. So it was $124 million profit before they even got into production. That's the model. That's the model to work with now. You got to incentivize people in a financial sense.
Yeah, got to incentivize them. Give them the incentives and all that good stuff. Do you see this as a multi-billion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar new emerging industry, maybe? Is that the best way to put it?
You're close.
Okay.
If the Pioneer Cloud is 1.3 trillion and you want to earn a slice of it, I'm going to be creating a new social media platform and a multiverse that people can shop in and do everything else in. That will earn a slice of the pie. Each investor would have their slice. Let's say each investor is 6% of my entire slice of pie. According to McKinsey, you're talking about it converting into a couple $2 billion a year, not including the brand gold that I talk about. We invested this to save humanity. We love people. We love art. That's why we invested. We happen to be making a couple $2 billion, but it was the message that you were delivering us that we have a counterbalance to AI, and we want to be part of it.
Oh, okay. And why is Skydance the only one that can handle the power of the sling ring?
It's technological. It's also in the spirit behind what Ellison says. Amazon has already disqualified themselves by the actions in what they've produced. Then you have the fact that when I was the very first person to shoot in a high-def camera, because I had enough physics background, when I talked to the rep from NASA, he says, hey, I want to stay in touch with you. I presented it to the industry. I was shooting, and the industry, Hollywood industry, is almost incapable of technological innovation. Yeah. That's why we lost out when Silicon Beach came down there. They ate us for lunch. They kicked our ass. Look at where we are now. Now, Ellison entered the field first producing films in high value. And if you read what he said about CBS, is he says, CBS made the best television series for decades. I want to bring that back. I'll spend the money to bring back higher quality productions of dramas and sitcoms. Then when you look at the films he's greenlighting, these are the highest quality films that are coming out over the last decade. Aside from, I gotta say, if you know a lot about filmmaking, Avengers Endgame is terrific story, writing, character. These guys are really good. John Wick, a couple of other writers associated with those films, they're up in the caliber of writers that were mentored by the legends of Hollywood, the directors, producers, and other writers that actually most of them are dead or retired now.
Really?
Now, here's something that's very essential for people to understand. In the 10 years, I have spent my time acquiring the highest value television series, films, and streaming content I came across. Producers and even the Hollywood Reporter knew if they saw something good but it wasn't perfect, they could call me and I would work with the person, but I would say, you might have to wait years for my launch, but it'll be worthwhile. Now, why is this important? Almost every screenplay that's any good in Hollywood has gone into an agency. What do agencies do? How do they make their money? As Hannibal Lecter says, what does he do, this man you seek? They put the original good script into a process to start adding on producers, talent, and everything else. This happens so much that in the opening credits of a movie, you see 12 producers, 12 executive producers. Every one of those people has to be given money to go away. It's called going away money. They also get maybe 0.5% to 1.5%. All that money comes from the investors. The investors are immediately robbed of 10 to 15% by insiders that are all cheating at the same poker game. If you sit down at the table and you can't figure out who the cheater or the sucker is, it's you. And that's what they've done to foreign investors. And I'm changing that. That's what they've done to independent investors. I'm going to be the first film company and mini major studio that has open books looked over by probably PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm going to be tracking expenses in blockchain DLT. And why does this become important? I was told by somebody I can't mention that it's impossible to have a $120 million advertising budget on a $40 million prequel that is in the theaters. The reason you have sequels is you know you can spend less on advertising. There is an unholy alliance between online, on-phone advertising and the studios. The three ways the studios used to rip off investors was inflated budgets, inflated advertising, and adding on people that were unnecessary. Now, when it comes to advertising, you got $100 million, they've already proven bots are clicking on. So how do you change that? You follow the Roblox and the OnlyFans model, but mainly the Roblox model for how they avoided giving 20% away of their income to advertising. That's a whole nother story, really fascinating. But my website lays it out that I bring in the OnlyFans and Roblox model for profits to filmmaking, and that's a big deal.
This is really exciting. So how do investors reach out to you, find out more? What is the way that they can delve into more data and information about this?
Actually, tuning into your show, you know that I waited for my time in line to announce this to the world through you because I admire your podcast so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I've done some, and they went over well. But
Yeah.
I kept saying, no, I want to talk to Chris about it, not only because of what you cover in the podcast, but your other past that has lived outside of this podcast for previous years.
So how do investors reach out to you then, and how do they find out more?
They go to my website. They send me an email. Now, let's say, for instance, all the streaming giants are going to hear about this, and they usually do bulk purchases of 10 scripts at a time or something. They do it not always to produce it, but because they don't want the other guy to have it. Now, word is going to get around. They're going to make some offers. So the first volley of interest is going to come from Skydance and all the other streaming companies, even though Skydance is the best fit. They're going to hear about it through the continuation of podcasts and other news and coverage. The investment companies will be hearing about it through your podcast, the coverage I get in Hollywood, and they're going to want to get onto my website, send me an email, or, hey, just call the phone numbers. They call the phone number. They start a process of orientation and consulting to know what they're getting into before they start spending that much money. And Hollywood never consulted before. They just took.
Yeah, it's kind of... So they can reach out to you on the website. They can find out more. Anything I should have asked you during the interview that maybe we left off that we should let people know?
Yes. Okay. Have you ever gone to Las Vegas and gone to a casino and gambled?
Yeah.
I was just a wild guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you get your chips at Wynn and you want to leave, you got to cash your chips in. You also have to leave all your credibility and your credits back there at the Wynn. You go to another casino you haven't been to, you're not going to get the royal treatment. Now, what if you had a casino chip that you could spend anywhere, and the credits and everything else that the Wynn offers you all the time you can use anywhere, and you can also at some time or another pass it to somebody else. That's a concept. In gaming and in the future of my multiverse universe, it's called an interoperable token. It's a token that can be played across multiple games and spent any ways on the platform. Now, to see how important this is, Microsoft and Sega had a 20-year relationship. They decided to put 4 games onto one interoperable token. The legal work took them 2 years because they weren't prepared for this. But the playership in all 4 games prevented what they call churn and made them all super money makers. If you don't know that the end result or goal is an interoperable token and a new avatar in the screenplay, you've already lost. You have to know it in the screenplay, just like you have to know what CGI could do in your screenplay. You build it from there. The buyer, the contracts, everything has to have this included, and then the actors get a penny for every time they're played with. For instance, would you like to fight Morpheus in that scene as Neo in The Matrix?
Yeah, if you could fight that way and avoid the bullets.
They can't do it with the finished product, but they can do it with outtakes provided they're in the contract. So in my contract, for every scene, there'll be outtakes for interplay between the stars and fans, so that there's something like, I want to shoot it out with John Wick. I want to go to another planet with Star Trek. You have a Roblox inter-game micro purchase of, let's say, 50 cents, $1. It doesn't matter. It can be really small. You get to play, and AI lets you take those different positions, perspectives, let's say angles that you didn't use in the finished product. Every time that happens, the actor gets a couple pennies of it. Oh. Now, this is the same thing that made rap stars worth $200 to $500 million. I'm just bringing it to the movie industry. The studios would never do it because they're too damn greedy.
Yeah.
Actors are going to love this. Actors are going to love this.
Yeah. Anything that brings in more residuals too, and of course contracts over AI and use of images. It's kind of wild. Some of the things that are going on. You know, now actors and actresses in Hollywood have to decide, can they use my image in AI? Like they made Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher. They made her younger after she'd passed in one of the Star Wars, or at least one of the Star Wars. I can't keep track of them all now.
In some of those cases you mentioned, I think that if the audience knows that that is being done and it's still based on a real person, it can be justified.
Yeah.
But if you remember Jar Jar Binks, they thought he would be the biggest selling toy, but even children could tell it didn't have a human being in it, and it was the worst selling toy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the same thing's going to happen.
It's annoying, too. It was just annoying.
And the Let me see. In Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot was promised a theatrical release. It would have earned her $50 million in merchandise. Mm-hmm. Instead, they went straight to streaming. She sued them, won $50 million. But
wow.
You've got to honor the creator. Who is John Galt from Atlas Shrugged? John Galt was the person that knew that if you took the creative power, the creative people away from the nation, industry would grind to a halt. It would lower every value. It happened in the book. It's happening in Hollywood. You need a counterbalance. Nothing exists long in this universe if it's out of balance. What I am bringing is the counterbalance that's going to allow Amazon, hey, keep doing your stuff. I love it, Jeff. Cool. But you need a counterbalance or you're going to offset the universe and everything's going to topple. Not even Bezos wants that.
Etc.
Could you rephrase that, please?
Give us your final pitch out as we wrap the show.
Okay.
To investors and tell them where they can get you and all that good stuff.
All right. Investors, this is a new opportunity to be on the Pioneer Cloud. Contact me through my website, Eventhorizon.studio. It's called Eventhorizon Film Studio. You've got my phone number, 424-332-8993. You can call and make inquiries, but email me, give me a call. We'll get everything in line, and you'll start to learn what we're really getting into. It's very exciting.
And people can find out more and then watch for your books, 6 books that will be covering everything. It's quite a lot of work you put in over the last 10 years. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks to our artists for tuning in. You gave them the .com in that pitch out, right? So people can find that.
Eventhorizon.studio.
And you can find a link for that on the Chris Voss Show as well. Thank you very much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it, Scott.
Thank you, and look forward to future talks.
Thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.